Ladies and gentlemen, the following podcast is set for one episode. Your host from Columbus, Ohio, is Michael Kirk. Welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast. Hello and welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast, your digital audio dirt sheet for all things Super Show. We have two big stories for this week, but before I get to those, I have a brief correction from last week's episode to make. When I was reporting on Faction Wars Phase Zero, I misspoke when talking about what should be locked in. What I meant to say was that players are locked in to the competitors they play in Phase Zero. So, for example, the Constellation. Let's say in the Constellation, Drew Matson, their captain, is playing their world competitor in Phase Zero. He has to play the world competitor in Phase 1, Phase 2, however many phases the Constellation ends up going in Faction Wars. You can't have Drew Matson play the world competitor in Phase 0, and then another teammate take over in Phase 1 playing the world competitor, and Drew Matson switch to, say, the Underworld. Whatever competitor you play in Phase 0, you're locked into playing that competitor for the remainder of Faction Wars, if you're in Faction Wars. Now, decks can change between rounds, or between phases. So in Phase 0, and this is actually a change from after I reported on it, in Phase 0, you will craft a deck list. You don't have to send it to anyone, but the deck you use in Phase 0, you have to use for every match in Phase 0. And it should be the same for Phase 1, Phase 2, so on and so forth. You can change your deck, from what I understand, between phases. That's what I understand right now. Again, that could actually change. But right now, from what I understand, you are not locked in to the deck you use in Phase 0 for the remainder of Faction Wars, but you are locked in as a player to the competitor you use in Phase 0. In my initial reporting, I accidentally said locked into deck rather than competitor. I apologize for that. But I just want to get that corrected. You can change your deck between rounds, between phases in Faction Wars, but the competitor you use in Phase 0, you have to use for the remainder of Faction Wars. Now on to the first big story of the week. The 2026 Super Show Create-A-Card competition is live. You can enter the card you'd like to see potentially created in Super Show the game currently by commenting on the post on the SRG Super Show discussion group on Facebook. The post was made by Steve Resk on New Year's Day, January 1st. The first sentence of the post: get ready for the Super Show Create-A-Card competition for 2026. There's an image on the post that says create a card competition. It looks like Luke Cage punching CM Punk. That's what it looks like to me. That's not exactly accurate, but that's kind of the best way I can describe it to you. Your comment will need to include the following things on the post for your entry. It will need to include the card name, the card number, the card text, and the skill requirement if there's going to be a skill requirement for the card. Those four things must be in the comment for your entry in the Create-A-Card competition to be valid. You can submit up to 3 different cards for the Create-A-Card competition, each person. I've seen someone do 3 cards on one comment. I would assume you could probably do 3 different comments, 1 per card as well. 3 card submissions is the limit. The deadline for submitting your cards in the 2026 Create-A-Card competition is next Wednesday, January 7th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, before Talk of the Universe. When Talk of the Universe starts Wednesday night, that is the cutoff for submitting entries in the 2026 Create a Card competition. At the time I'm recording this, there are 80 comments per the comment tally on the post on the SRG Super Show discussion group on Facebook. That means there's going to be a lot of competition for this. Once the entry period has concluded, Steve Resk will approve what cards, based on theme and power, will move on to the next step. The next step is those cards will be presented to the Super Show community, and the Super Show community will help determine the finalists. Steve Resk, the SRG boss, the CEO, owner, founder of SRG Universe, will choose the winner from among the finalists. So once again, quick recap. Entry period live now until January 7th, Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Make a comment on the post on the SRG Super Show discussion group on Facebook, listing the card name, number, card text, and skill requirement if applicable. Steve Resk will approve what entries go on to the next step. The SRG community will determine the finalists, and Steve Resk will choose which finalist wins the competition. That is the current structure. Again, card subject to change. But if you want to get your entries in, you have until next Wednesday. Make sure you submit in the comments on the post for the 2026 Create a Card competition. The second big story I have for you this week is that the 2025 Super Show the Game award nomination form is live. Steve Resk made a post on the same discussion group, the SRG Super Show discussion group. That post has a link to the nomination form. It's a Google document. You will fill out the Google document and hit submit to submit your nomination form. There is currently no deadline given for the nomination form. I did reach out to Steve Resk and confirm that there is currently no deadline announced. Obviously, there's going to be a deadline because they're going to give out the award. So at some point, they will stop taking submissions for nominees, determine who the actual nominees are, and then give out the award. That's happening Captain Con, I believe, Saturday, the last weekend of January, first weekend of February. I believe they've actually announced that it's going to be Saturday, January 31st. Again, card subject to change, but that's the night they're looking at doing the SRG Awards. So presumably sometime before that, they're going to have to cut off the nomination period. Right now, though, the nomination form is out there. If you want to fill it out and send it in, they will use all of these entries to determine the final list of nominees, and then they will choose award winners from those final lists of nominees. If there is an award that is not on the form that you would like to see given out, reach out to Steve Resk through Facebook Messenger and let him know what award you would like to see. I don't know if he's going to add it to the form or if he'll just take that into consideration. But if you think there's an award that should be given out that's not on the form, let Steve Resk know. Those are the two main stories from this past week. There is a brief Project Spider update. They're going to make the quarterly announcements for Project Spider updates align with the traditional quarters of the year. So we have 12 months in the year. If you start counting from January as the first month, then January would be when the first quarterly update would happen. April would be the second quarterly update. July would be the third update. And October will be the fourth update. They're switching over to that system, so the next Project Spider update will be in early April. Let's talk about the online tournaments from this past week. There were only two that I'm aware of. The first was Monday night. It was the Monday Night Fights End of 25 Bash. This was an Underworld Division tournament. World Division competitors booked. All other singles competitors legal, subject to 2020 vision. 8 players played in 3 bullet rounds, and then they cut to a top 3. The judge, Tim Riley, received a bye to the finals. The other 2 players played off in a no disqualification match to make the finals match. We had Zach Ashley playing as, I'm not sure if it's just Zach or the highest in the LFF. I don't know what the name of the competitor is, but we had Zach Ashley playing as his own competitor take on the Devil's Reject GPS playing as the Devil's Reject GPS. The winner joining the judge Tim Riley in the finals, Zach Ashley. So Zach Ashley, as his own competitor, took on the judge Tim Riley playing as the Huntress Angel Lynn. This was a main event stipulation match. The winner winning the Monday Night Fights End of 25 Bash, Zach Ashley. Congratulations to Zach Ashley for a win Monday night. Congratulations also to Steve Resk for his win last Thursday. I forgot to congratulate him last week, so here's that congratulations. Thursday, we have Thursday night Boss Fights New Year's Day edition. This was a pop-up tournament. 16 players played in an Underworld Division tournament. They had 4 bullet rounds, and they cut to a top 5. There were 3 byes to the semifinals. Simple Chuck faced Robert the Brain Dunn for the last spot in the semifinals. No stipulation from what I could tell in that play-in match. The semifinal matches were ladder matches. The finals match and the third place match were last competitor standing matches. Your top 5 were in 5th place, playing as Dr. Jake Hill, Robert the Brain Dunn. In 4th place, playing as El Scorpio, Ricky Riot. In 3rd place, playing as Simple Chuck himself. In 2nd place, playing as Tortured Vigilante, Hold the Line Harry, and the winner of the Thursday night Boss Fights New Year's Day pop-up event, playing as Yamato Hama, the Chosen One, Colby Cram. Congratulations to the Chosen One for winning the Thursday night pop-up event. Because Colby Cram won Thursday, he will be entered into a number 1 contenders match for the United States Championship. His opponent in that contender match will be the winner of the next Monday night tournament, presumably Monday Night Fights. The Chosen One will have to pick a United States Division competitor for that contender match. If Colby Cram ends up winning the Monday night event as well, he will not be in a contender match. He will be the next contender for the United States champion, Johnny Correa. That is the news that I have for this week for Super Show the Game, for the Legendary Fighting Federation. As far as things coming up for next week, we're going to start off Monday night with a defense of the Deep Six Championship. This is the championship where both players in the match can have no more than 6 stop cards in their decks. Challenger, the greatest of part-time, Eddie Fury, will take on champion Swaggy D. That should happen on SRG Universe's Twitch channel and their YouTube channel as well. We should have some sort of Monday night tournament. We should have some sort of Thursday night tournament. We should have Dojo Tuesday night, Talk of Universe Wednesday night, midday Thursday, Expanding the Universe. We should have Sunday night fights. What I have on the match card for this Sunday night fights, January 11th, is a Veterans Championship match between the champion, the Mad Custodian, and challenger Young Algae, and a Trios Championship match between the Screaming Danchi, the champion, and Le Penguin, the challenger. That's what I have confirmed. There was some talk about a tag team championship match that same night. We'll have to see what, if any of this ends up happening. Card is always subject to change. I don't have any news about Big Picture Premium programming. They did have an episode of Stacked Card, I believe, last Tuesday. So, going with the alternating every other week, we may have an episode of Ignite this week, but I have not seen anything announced on that. Watch for announcements regarding Big Picture Premium shows, SRG Universe shows, SRG Universe featured matches, and tournaments coming over the next few days. None of that currently announced at the time I'm recording this, but I expect it to be announced over the days since this recording comes out. I'm pretty sure they're still looking for people to be in the big, meaty invitational tournament. So if you'd like an invitation to that, make a promo tagging Coach Brad, letting him know why you want to be in the big, meaty invitational tournament. And at some point, we're going to start having matches in the 2025 Create a Competitor competition, Vote JAC, in the 2025 CCC. With that being said, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Outlaw Mudcast. I would like to thank all of you for listening, and good day.